As mentioned before, I would like to have a little bit of a chat about SEO, and obviously you are the SEO queen. So I just wanted to have a chat about SEO for search engine optimization in general for e-commerce, because as we discussed at our last catch-up, it's a difficult topic sometimes, and obviously SEO for a normal website or like a brochure website can be quite difficult, different quite sometimes to e-commerce. But first of all, I would love if you can introduce yourself a little bit quickly.
Yeah, so my name is Reem Kubba, and I'm the founder of the SEO Room, which is a digital marketing agency that focuses on two main services. Number one is SEO, and number two is web design. So SEO-friendly web design, this is what we specialize in. And we do a lot of optimization for e-commerce. I personally love working with e-commerce stores when we do SEO, because we can track everything to the cent, as you may know as well with the when you do your Facebook ads for e-commerce. But we also do service-based businesses. But my passion goes towards e-com stores. Yeah.
Awesome. So you are Perth-based as well, right?
Yeah, I am Perth-based. Work Australia-wide and in other countries as well. We get because we can work from anywhere, basically. Yeah. So we've got clients from New Zealand and America and a few other countries around the world, but most of our work comes from Australia-wide.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So yeah, let's get straight into search engine optimization. So what do you feel like is the big difference between like a normal brochure website and like an e-commerce store in terms of search engine optimization?
So basically, when we look at e-com, we don't only look at whether they rank or not. So this is the first step, is to help you rank on the first page of Google search results. So if anybody's watching and not familiar with what SEO means, is basically we help websites rank on search engines. And the most popular search engine at the moment is Google. And it could be Bing, could be Yahoo, but mostly we focus on Google because this is where most of the users go to when they're searching for a product or service. So today our focus is product. Usually the journey comes, people search for a certain product on Google, and whatever results come on the first page, they don't come usually by coincidence. A lot of work goes behind to have them on the first page. And we're not talking about the top section where it says ad, we're talking about the organic sections at the bottom of the ads. So you're not paying Google any ads. So the first step is to help you to be on that page. With e-commerce, the second stage is we're looking for conversions. And usually the conversions are instant with e-commerce. We want them to buy straight away. That's the main goal. So it's more on to hit the buy button and buy the product rather than ask and inquire, like for a service-based business. And a lot of that comes from these three levels of optimization. So SEO starts with the technical part. So we look at your website. Is it being crawled by Google? Is it indexed by Google? Basically what that means is a lot of SEO jargon that I'll throw, but I'll explain them in simple terms. Is your website recognized by search engines like Google? So we can find that out, because sometimes you go and design the most beautiful website and probably it's not being indexed or seen by Google. It doesn't matter where you rank. The first step is to get seen by Google. And then we start the optimization process. But before we go and optimize everything, we like to look at the business first and how it operates and what are the business goals. So we align our SEO strategy with the business goals. And usually when it comes to e-com, they have financial goals. So they want to achieve that number of sales in Q1, for example. And we look at what are the top products they want to get sales in. And then we start optimizing these products to appear on Google search engine. And we found it very effective in terms of sales and conversions, because we're catching the buyer at their buying stage. So when people go and do a search on Google, especially for example, if they're looking for plush toys, for example, plush toys in Australia, the buyer intent here is to buy or compare. So you're catching them. If you're on page 1, you're catching them when they are already in that mood of buying. You're not catching them when they're just browsing something else. They actually have an intent behind it. So we try to meet that intent and get them on that page. So as I mentioned before, first thing is we look at everything working technically right with your website. Your Google can see your website. You don't have errors. So that's basically the infrastructure. So it's like the infrastructure of a house. We look at the infrastructure. Is it good? And then we look at the design of the website. Has it been designed properly? Is your website structure correctly done? The pages and categories correctly done and user-friendly? The navigation is easy. Getting to the cart is easy. These sorts of things that we look on the page. And then we look at elements that Google wants to see, because Google, by the end of the day, they have bots crawling onto each page of the website, and they read information a little bit differently than us users read the information. So they look at certain things on your website, what we call is metadata. So we start optimizing for that metadata. Sorry, Eva, did you want to ask something?
No, I was just basically wanting to ask, like, what are those things for like people that have not been in touch with SEO that much? It would be interesting to me to hear, like, what are those points to look into.
Yeah, so metadata could be the title of your page, could be the way you've optimized your photos. So the photos needs to be named in a certain way so Google understand what the photo is about of your product. So when we talk about e-commerce, photos are critical. And you want to make sure that Google actually understand what the photo is. And other elements is your product description. So product description is really important for two things. For Google, to recognize what this page is about, what this product is about, and for the users to understand what this product is about and be encouraged to make a purchase because we've given enough details about the product description. So these product descriptions need to be written strategically, targeting whatever keywords or search intents that we have for them. And the main focus would be around that and giving the details that most users would be looking for, as well as Google. So these things help the products start appearing on the first page of Google. Other elements we look at is other content on your website. So for example, what's the maximum number of words you can write for a product description? What do you think is a reasonable number, Eva? Since
well,
you're in
I usually want to have something short and sweet. Like me as a consumer, I want to get it to a point and just have like, because that was another question I was want to ask you before. Like a few years ago when I was more into like the SEO part of things, it was like volume, give us volume of content in order to make a difference. But like, I don't feel it's very user friendly to have the volume speak and actually making a difference in terms of the ranking. So I was wondering if that is still the case in terms of volume makes all the difference, or is it just quality that goes over volume?
I agree with you. It's not just the volume, because you're talking from a user experience. So now Google is doing a lot of changes into its algorithm. So it constantly improves the algorithm according to how the users are reacting on the search engine. So it collects all that information and it comes up with an algorithm. So it is the sweet spot between these two. So you've got to have enough information for me to understand what your product is about. So if we're talking about, again, going back to the plush toy, like I want to understand as a user, as a mom, I want to understand what sort of materials have been used. Have they, for example, if I'm an ethical mom, am I looking for ethical practices? Have they used them? Where have they produced them? Are they produced in Australia? If I'm an Australian consumer, are they produced somewhere else? The materials used, the sort of shipping, and how long should I expect the product to be, in my mailbox, and things like that. Dimensions could be one of them. So if I've got a little baby, I want to know the dimensions, the safety, and things like that. So this is important information that I find some e-commerce website owners, they miss out on. They know that information, but they don't include it. And you would be surprised how many people looking for these details, these little finer details, which what I describe is what differentiates your business. out of all the e-com stores out there. There's millions of stores. So you want to differentiate yourself. So we look at the differentiator of each product and as a company as a whole. And I do encourage e-commerce website owners or e-commerce businesses is to include this information, but not have to have too much. So right now, there isn't definite information into the number of words, but usually I would recommend around 400 words as a minimum.
Per product page.
Per product page, yeah. And that gives me enough information. If it's for example, if we're talking about toys, then the way you use them, who are they suitable for, do they come in different color variations and things like that. So a lot of information that's some people see as relevant, but as a user, yeah, but it's very relevant. It's very relevant to include. And I would recommend not to have it as a big chunk, but actually to break it down. So if you've got like, we're talking about clothing, if you've got like washing instructions or, you know, handling instructions and things like that. If it's something that's more fragile, then we look at, you know, how to handle these products and have like different segments into them. So going back to that topic, how much should we write? We can't really actually write that much. And right now, the competition is so high on Google search engines that you would need about 2,000, 3,000 words to actually start competing for a certain product or a product category. So how do we overcome that problem? We overcome it by providing information somewhere else on your website. And that goes through the content creation on your website, on your blogs. So if you've got a blog section or a news section, depends on what sort of store you are, then you would be providing more in detail information about a certain thing. So if we're talking about plush toys, you could be talking about what's the latest trends in colors, what's the latest trends in material, you know, how to use them, how are they educational for kids, sort of topics that we look for. And this is where the SEO people come in, is we do a search. What are people searching for? That related searches within this topic that are not buying intent, more information based.
But isn't a blog page or a news page often indicated differently from Google side of things? So Google knows exactly, cool, this is just another news page and it's not actual product page?
It's not an actual product page, you are right. So the search intent here is more finding about information. So for example, if we go back to the example of plush toys, if we're looking at ethically made products, somebody could be typing in, and this is not related on, you know, research or data, I'm just bringing it out. I could be searching as a mom is what defines an ethically made toy, you know, in Australia. How can I know if this toy is ethically made? So some sort of question. I want to find out an article. So when I go shopping and buy, I'm in the information stage as a consumer right now. I'm not in the buying stage. And this is the case with more than 70% of searches are information-based, not buying-based. So, and this is where a lot
How much? What was the percentage?
More than 70%.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see,
Awesome.
At least 70% is information-based. And what usually people go and do when they optimize their stores, they only optimize for the buying intent, the commercial intent, or the comparison intent. They don't actually do some information-based, because they know this is not a money word. What we call them is a money word. It's not a money word, but it's a, you know, it's a way that leads to your money words. So we do it in a way that we're still talking about the topic, but we tackle it from different angles. These blogs, the information blogs, what they do is they do two things. First of all, it shows that you're an authority in your own industry. If you're going deep down into your industry and talking about the little nitty gritty and the bits and how you make that product and where it's made, and you know, you tackle every question there is for your consumer on your blogs, that shows you an authority for your consumers. And it shows you as an authority for Google as well, because Google crawls and scrapes a lot of websites, millions of websites. So it shows, okay, I've got an e-commerce store that sells plush toys, and I've got another e-commerce store that sells plush toys, but this one has so much depth of information about plush toys versus this one only has the products and doesn't really explain much. Can you see the difference? So that just becomes a higher value and authority. And as you become a higher value and authority, you start ranking more because you're capturing more audiences. You're capturing the information-based audiences. You're capturing the commercial audiences that want to buy as well.
Mm-hmm. Is there like a way to include more keywords on the page without having 2,000 words, like, or at least not visible? It's like, is there like some kind of secret way or any kind of, yeah, just really good insights on how to actually include more content on the website but not being visible? Is it like with drop downs or something? Is anything like that still good or possible?
Usually it's just there are many tricks that are outdated, but we call black hat SEO. So our main focus is to do white hat SEO. Basically is now SEO relies a lot on content. So the majority of SEO is content driven. Content that's useful. It's not fluff. It's actually, we do the research and see what are users looking for, and then we write a piece of content on there. And while writing that piece of content, what you could do is promote your product as well. So it would be like, I would say it's an 80% general information about, you know, the genre or the sort of product types that you're talking about, and 20% promotion for your business as well. Because by that, you could have written a really nice piece, like a 700-word piece of an article describing, you know, what are ethical practices when creating plush toys, but then you end it there. So the journey just cuts off. So you want to think about the whole journey. How do I move them from a consumer that's finding out information and getting really impressed with that information into going into the buying mode? So I would direct them into a product page or a category page saying, well, if you're looking for more products of that type, we actually create ethically made soft toys or plush toys. Please check out our collections, and then lead them to the collection page. And what that actually does, it creates internal linking into your website. So this is another phase of SEO that we look at. It's not just creating content, but actually linking your pages together according to some relevancy. So if I've got an article that talks about this, I want to connect it to the right collection.
Yeah. And how about, like, obviously a big part is like link, like an external link building as well. So how much do you focus on that one as well with your business in terms of like proportion of like content writing and structure of the page to external links?
Okay. So usually we'll look at it probably a proportion of 80-20. So 80 is everything you do on the website. You want to make sure you've got a good quality website, great user experience, great content in there. And then once you have all of that, a lot of it comes organically. People actually start linking back to you. So if I've got a content piece that's really amazing, you'll see that a lot of the times other websites start linking to you because you've got very valuable information. And then there is the actively going and looking for links from other websites. Basically, what backlinking means is you've got your own website and you want other websites to link back to you and bring you their traffic, and also to increase your authority on Google. This is one of the other things that Google looks into, but focuses more on your content on your website. How we can do that is probably by going into an outreach, like if you go to a blog site and you write a good piece of content there and then link back to your site. That could be a way of getting backlinks. Or sometimes you have some e-com stores, they have suppliers, they might link back to them. So say a wholesaler linking back to a retailer. So that way that there is relevancy. There has to be a relevancy when you're getting a backlink. And there has to be like a good quality website. I would be wary when talking about backlinks, because a lot of people sell backlinks and they're spammy websites. So what that does, it could get you a little bit of a ranking in the beginning, which I probably doubt right nowadays, but you would drop off and you would be considered as spammy. And if Google finds out that you're a spammy website, they might just remove you from the search engine altogether.
Yeah. When we like a few years ago, I was handling a little bit of SEO as well for some of the agencies that I used to work with. And there was a lot of interesting like ways to get rankings up. and one of them as well was like high focus on links as well, on links, like buying links. And it was so funny for like bigger clients. Obviously there was a lot of expenditure when it comes to link building, and a few, like, obviously the clients were really impressed because it was growing, and then suddenly it dropped and they got like banned a little bit, or like just red flagged basically by Google. And from there it just was really hard because we had to get rid of a lot of like all of the links that were like
you disavowed
not
links.
good. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, you've got to do
and it was a lot of work.
Yeah. So we run it through some websites with some of our clients that have been burnt before with the quick fixes, like let me do some backlinks here, let me do this, let me do that, and they don't do it in the proper way. So I would definitely be wary around that. And if you feel like your provider is focusing more on backlinks and less on your content, and actually doing a proper website audit first. So this is what we start with. Before we do anything, we actually do a website audit to see where do you stand, what's missing on your website, do you have any technical issues and things like that. And then we set a customized strategy for that website and say, well, this is what is needed. Sometimes it's a one-off job. So we could be an example of a one-off job. If you've got a product that's staying there and you're not doing many changes to it, then we optimize that product description. So product description, you only need to optimize it once, unless you're changing the product, the colors, and category. And other things that are more dynamic is your ongoing SEO blogging. That's important because Google loves fresh content, and the link building, but the proper link building, that could be an ongoing process, but not doing it in a spammy way, getting good authority backlinks to your website that are relevant, that are good quality, and not from spammy websites, definitely.
Do you do a lot of PR as well in that combination? Obviously with like link building, working with different newspapers potentially, or getting those like high traffic websites through PR as well?
We don't do PR, so we don't. We haven't gone into getting like from local newspapers, or if you've got a TV interview and then they link back to you. But what we do is the clients that do these things, we do guide them into how to get a link from that. So if you're doing an interview somewhere at a newspaper, even if it doesn't have a lot of traffic, but you actually did something for that. If you're doing an interview somewhere, that means it's relevant to your business. You wouldn't interview somewhere that's not relevant. So we do recommend to get a backlink. Sorry, what's it cutting off?
Yeah, my dad just called in. I was like, no, not right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's definitely good to know.
Yeah. So I would be looking into that. And another thing that I wanted to mention, Eva, how we do things differently is we do a holistic SEO. So we look at the business first. So it's not about, let me get you ranking for keyword A, B, and C. This is not the way we operate. And it shouldn't be the way that others operate as well. It should be really looking at your business and your store on its own entity, and really understanding what is your USP, why are you operating in the business, how do you do things differently. And this is why I don't optimize websites that just drop ship just any product without any branding, without any customization, and without having the proper brand guidelines and differentiators in their business. Because I would say to them, SEO is just a waste of time there, because
Absolutely. It's the same with like when we discussed last time, when we had our catch up of like looking at the holistic big picture. Same here. It's just like it's so hard to get a really good result for the client in general. So it's going to be a waste of time to waste the time and money for someone that has just not the foundations to get where they want to go. And yeah, it's really good that we have like the same kind of objection of like looking into holistic big picture first before actually making any promises here.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Awesome. And a quick question in terms of video. Obviously video is like more and more important, and like a lot of websites have more and more videos to get away from the long text and make it more user friendly. Obviously those videos incorporate a lot of text or content, but just not written. But have captures on it. I was wondering, how important is video right now for Google, or how important is it to replace basically text from the website and have video instead?
So with videos, we found that it has good conversions. So we're looking at the conversion side of things. So if I'm landing somewhere and I'm finding a nice video about the business or the product or how it's used or how it's displayed, or some testimonial videos and things like that, that helps me as a consumer to have a better experience and probably purchase from that product. Another way is right now they cannot, like, the search engines cannot read what the video is about. So you want to yeah, what we do usually is probably include the dialogue somewhere. If you have it, if some people do vlogs on their websites, so they do like a combination of blogs and vlogs. So what I do advise them to do is, if you're having a really nice vlog, probably have the text underneath, because this is what it does is you're helping all the users get access. There are some users who are deaf. I know there is a little description, but they can read through. There are users who are, they don't want to listen to a video. They're probably just listening at it in the middle of the night. But what that does with the text is, when you do the search, you can actually start popping up in search engines because you've got the right text. You don't have to do it. It just depends what your goals are. So if it's more of a conversion, then I'll say just have it there. What we can do is optimize the metadata of that video and say what the video is about in a few words that are related to that video. But if you do have the capacity to add in text, then probably yes, add in the text as well. Yeah. Okay. But definitely with conversions, we found it to be much better with video.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely. In terms of the timeline, obviously SEO is a little bit of a long-term strategy. It's not like a quick fix. Do you have like any specific timeline or recommendations that you have for e-commerce SEO in order to actually make a see difference?
Okay, so that again, I'll give you two answers. One of the answers is it depends on the website. It depends how
it always does.
We're talking. Yeah. How competitive is that industry? If it's highly competitive, I might tell you, it's going to take a couple of years to see results. But with most cases, if we're talking about small business, not highly competitive, small to medium, not highly competitive products, and then we can get around and we think that we've got a good strategy, you should see a shift within 6 months. Usually the majority of stores we work with, we do see the shift between 4 to 6 months at least, because you want to have like lead and lag indicators. So I don't want to work for a whole year and see, there isn't any results. You don't want to go like that with a client. So we actually monitor everything month to month, and there should be an uptrend that you going up with the ranking. There are some fluctuations, which is normal, that you will have daily fluctuations, but over a long period of time, say a month or 2 months, the trend should be going up. So some of the stores we take on, they could be, for one of their products keywords, they could be ranking on rank 100. So realistically, that's not going to go on page 1 or rank 1 overnight or in a few weeks' time. It's very unlikely.
Yeah.
So it takes but what I tell them is, if you're on rank 100, look after 3 months' time. Are you going on 120? That should be alarming. That means we're not doing a good job, which doesn't happen in our world. But this is something to monitor if you're using an SEO person. Is it going to 50 and then going to 30 and then going to, for example, 12 and then going on page 1? Then that's a good indication. So I would say a minimum of 6 months, but it depends. Like, recently, we're looking at a project that's highly, highly competitive. The organic traffic is about 1 million a month just from SEO. Yeah, so you can imagine how the competition is getting 1 million a month from SEO, and they are very realistic. They say, well, our expectation is in year 1 we would be in that position. In year 2 we would be in that position. So talking more realistically into setting the expectations right. Yeah.
Many people also don't know that obviously a good organic ranking has a big impact on the paid advertising as well. because in terms of like the quality of the website obviously is a big part of the SEO, which has a massive impact in terms of paid advertising. Because once you have a good quality of your website, it's much easier to convert and get the cost per acquisition and the advertising costs much down. So like if the combination is there of like a good SEO and a good advertising, it makes a really good recipe of actually having a successful e-commerce company.
Absolutely, absolutely. Because a lot of what we do with SEO is look at conversion factors as well. Like, have you got your call to actions in the right place? Are they the right color? Are they, you know, are your images optimized? Do they look good? And these are things where you look at when you're doing the ads, is the landing page they're going on. You know,
Exactly.
Are they having the right user experience? It all comes down to the user experience when it comes to conversions. And one of the major things we look at SEO is the user experience. So we do kind of benefit each other when we work together in collaboration. The store just excels much faster.
Yeah, I think I told you last time the comparison of like SEO compared to advertising, of like how I would just always describe it. Of like SEO is it's basically just going to the gym. You're not going to see a result right away, but if you go to the gym consistently every day, you will see a rocking body in a few months. But if you want to have results very quickly, it's advertising. You put on your Spanx, you put on your dress, and you look amazing tonight. But if you put if you take those Spanx off again, you will see the same kind of body than before. Same kind in terms of ads. If you run your ads, obviously you see your results quite quickly. If you turn it off, you won't see any consistent sales coming through anymore. Where in comparison, obviously SEO, it's like a long-term strategy, but you will get long-term results with that as well. So that's why the comparison of those two is like such a good way to look at it.
Yeah, I think you nailed it with that comparison. I haven't heard a better one yet.
It's pretty fun as well.
Yes, true.
Awesome.
Yeah.
If people want to get in touch with you, what would be the best way to have a chat with you or like hear more about your SEO services?
So since we're on Instagram, probably send us a message, DM us, or we're on Facebook. So, you know, through a message, or email me directly, reem@seoroom.com.au. And the website is seoroom.com.au. Also, and through that, we get a bit of information into what your website is. We do offer a 30-minute free consult. So what we do through that consult is we do a website audit. So we see where your website is. So we set the benchmark for your website, and then we give you a high-level strategy into how do we approach SEO for your website and for your business goals, and give you some sort of timelines and things like that for you to think about. It's absolutely free with no obligation to do anything afterwards. So I do recommend to take advantage of that while we have it. And yeah,
sounds good. Yeah, do you have anything else that you want to share, or anything that we didn't cover? Obviously, SEO is such a big topic, so we could probably talk for hours. But is there anything that you would like to share now before we wrap this up?
Yeah, I would like to share one thing is when you're doing SEO, make sure that you have a contract. That's very important that we don't see that. I haven't seen it in the past few years in our world. When I get clients and they've done SEO with other agencies. So make sure that you do have a contract that you do understand. So there is deliverables in it. There's a set scope. So even though we're doing SEO, for example, if I do SEO for an ongoing basis for 6 months, there should be a contract for 6 months saying what are the deliverables for each month. So you can actually measure the work that's been done. And you don't feel like if somebody's not doing a great job, you can actually look at the contract and see if they have delivered properly or not. And don't be shy from asking questions. Always ask. Don't just give, your money to anybody to do SEO. Make sure that you know what you're getting out of your money. That's a really important one. And just keep monitoring. Make sure that they do provide you with reports. So reporting is really important so that you track all the results that are going on. So that's a really important thing, because a lot of people say that you work in the magic world, like we don't see what's being done, but that's not true. A lot of SEO work can be can be seen. And this is where it's measurable, it's tracked. Even when we do the backlinking, we can track how much you had, how much you have now. And then content creation obviously will be on your website that's visible. So yeah, just a piece of advice for whoever's doing SEO to make sure that everything is documented and tracked and measured, and you've got a contract in place.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Reem. Thank you very much for all the wisdom and all the like recommendations and stuff, and giving an overview of SEO. It's such a big topic to have a chat about. And thank you very much for your time as well.
Thank you so much, Eva, for having me. It was really lovely.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Talk soon. Have a good day.
Bye.
Bye.